In this video, we're breaking down a question every man wants to know. How do I increase testosterone naturally? So grab a pen and paper, you're going to want to take notes. Now, the interest in testosterone has been steadily increasing over the past couple of years, both in replacing it with TRT and methods to increase it naturally. So what's behind this surge of interest? Could it be the aging population hoping to capture vitality, more awareness of how testosterone impacts the quality of life? Or maybe it's just capitalism tapping into this masculine niche. Whatever the reason is, one thing is for sure. Multiple studies report that testosterone has dropped by 35 to 40% since the 1980s. Plus, sperm concentration has dropped by 50% globally since the 1980s. Now, if these trends continue, there's not going to be any men left. So what the hell is going on here? Well, since it takes genetics hundreds to thousands of years to change, the decline in testosterone must be a result of something in our environment. And here are the leading suspects. Obesity. Since the 1980s, obesity alone has risen by 30% in American men. This causes testosterone to plummet due to elevating estrogen, inflammation, poor sleep, and other destructive factors. Endocrine disrupting chemicals. The massive rise in estrogen-mimicking chemicals found in plastics like phthalates, BPA, or alkyl phenols, along with agricultural chemicals like pesticides or herbicides, have been repeatedly shown to tank testosterone and sperm quality. Now, if you're thinking, I live pretty clean, this probably doesn't apply to me, well, you might want to reconsider, because over 90% of people in North America, Europe, and Asia test positive for phthalates in their urine. Yeah, these hormone-disrupting chemicals are everywhere. Poor sleep. Quality and quantity of sleep has steadily worsened since the 1980s, primarily from lifestyle changes such as more screens, stress, later bedtimes, night shift work, and more. Poor sleep impacts testosterone because it's the most restorative tool we have. Plus, the majority of our daily testosterone is released during sleep. So when we push on the gas pedal too hard, our T takes a hit. Sedentary lifestyle. Advancements in technology has blessed us with a tremendous amount of convenience. But there's a dark side behind this coveted value. Less movement. I mean, you can do almost anything online these days. Work, order food, buy clothes, date, and a whole lot more. All while never leaving the couch. Now, on paper that might sound great, but I want to be clear. Movement is medicine, and it's absolutely crucial for testosterone production. Why? Because one of the major roles of testosterone is muscle and bone repair, meaning exercise creates microdoses of damage and triggers an increase in testosterone to help muscles and bone recover. But this rise won't happen if we sit on our backsides. Circadian rhythm dysfunction. Believe it or not, the sun has a huge impact on health, including testosterone. And it's undeniable that we get less sun today compared to a few decades ago. This change is due to our modern lifestyle and the ongoing propaganda that the sun is dangerous. But here's the truth. We evolved with the sun and its powerful medicine if dosed correctly. So how does this relate to testosterone? The sun's warming rays will cause our bodies to produce a steroid hormone called vitamin D, which directly stimulates the testes, decreases inflammation, and modifies hormone sensitivity. The last leading suspect is pharmaceuticals. The rates of pharmaceutical consumption since the 1980s resembles a moonshot crypto. And even though Big Pharma has its place, there are plenty of overprescribed meds that cause low T, such as painkillers, prednisone, antidepressants, statins, high blood pressure meds, and a whole lot more. Again, I'm not demonizing pharmaceuticals, just making an observation that the amount of meds being prescribed that lower testosterone in today's society is alarming. All right, now that we've shown a light on our current situation, let's unpack why testosterone is important. The functions of testosterone. The biggest function of testosterone is developing male characteristics, like penis growth, prostate development, facial hair, a deep voice, and yes, sperm production. Yet testosterone brings a lot more to the table. For instance, look at all the benefits unleashed from testosterone. Promotes muscle mass, strength, and bone mass. Regulates fat distribution and increases fat breakdown. primarily abdominal fat. Improves insulin sensitivity and glucose metabolism. Stimulates red blood cell production. Supports blood vessel growth and nitric oxide production. Affects mood, cognitive function, energy, and overall well-being. It's a key factor for sexual desire and drive in both men and women. Yeah, it's no wonder TRT and testosterone supplements are a multi-billion-dollar industry. But before we look at how to increase this wonder hormone naturally, let's take a quick peek at what happens when our T starts to fall. Symptoms of low testosterone. It's important to remember that the symptoms of low testosterone often overlap with symptoms from conditions that cause low T in the first place. For example, fatigue and low sex drive are symptoms of low testosterone, but they are also symptoms of poor sleep, obesity, and certain meds. So keep this causality soup in mind when looking at the symptoms of low T. Low sex drive, aka libido. This is the most common and earliest sign. Erectile dysfunction. Fatigue. Persistent tiredness even with adequate sleep. Reduced motivation. Loss of muscle mass, strength, and physical endurance. Increased body fat, particularly around the abdomen. Decreased bone density. Mood changes, irritability, depression, and anxiety. Reduced cognitive function. Poor sleep, anemia, and fertility issues. I know, low T can change your life. This is why it's so important to track your T, especially if you want to conceive. So let's get a quick breakdown on testing before we dive into how to increase this vitality hormone naturally. Testing testosterone. Don't worry, this won't be some in-depth biochemistry lesson. Instead, we'll only cover the basics so that you know what labs are important and how to get accurate readings. All right, here are the basic tests. Total testosterone measures the total amount of T in your blood. This includes free testosterone that is bioavailable and bound T that is not bioavailable. Think of total testosterone as your total production. Free testosterone, the amount of testosterone that is bioavailable and not bound. This number typically is only around 2 to 3% of your total T. Sex hormone binding globulin, aka SHBG. This is the major protein that binds close to 60% of testosterone. The remaining bound testosterone is attached to another liver protein called albumin. This number is important to track because if your SHBG is high, the available testosterone you can use, aka free testosterone, will go down. Alright, those are the basic testosterone tests. But if you've ever tested your T, you were probably asked to complete additional tests like a complete metabolic panel, complete blood count, thyroid stimulating hormone, estradiol, and more. These additional tests are often added to determine possible sticking points that might be contributing to your low T. For example, low thyroid hormones, elevated blood sugar, high cortisol levels, or abnormal liver and kidney function will all impair testosterone production. Additionally, if testosterone levels are low, more in-depth hormone testing may be required, such as luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, or prolactin. So just remember, we are a system, and hormones is only one signal of how well our system is functioning. What you need to know for accurate testing. Testosterone follows a diurnal rhythm, with the highest testosterone levels in the morning and the lowest at night. This means you ideally want to get tested in the morning, but if life gets in the way, just make sure all subsequent testing is around the same time. Otherwise, your numbers will be skewed. Next, you want to get tested in a fasted state and make sure you avoid taking any biotin for around 48 to 72 hours because it can cause false readings. Additionally, you also want to be hydrated to ensure accuracy. Lastly, you never want to go off one reading. As mentioned earlier, there are a lot of factors that go into testosterone production and accurate testing. For example, a poor night's sleep or a brief bout of stress will cause testosterone to tank before testing. So if your numbers look awful, don't sweat it, just adjust accordingly and retest. That brings up another important point. Testosterone numbers vary wildly between men. To highlight this point, consider this. The normal reference range of total testosterone is 300 to 1,000 nanograms per deciliter, and free testosterone is anywhere from 66 to 309 picograms per milliliter for an adult man. That's a very big reference range, and this is considered normal because men have different androgen receptor density and receptor signal strength, which determines the efficiency of free testosterone. This means that two guys could have a total T value in the 400s, and one might feel great, while the other might be limp and depressed. Here's the take-home message. While testing your T is wise for establishing a baseline and to determine if changes in your lifestyle are moving the needle in the right direction, the numbers should always be cross-examined with symptoms. Increasing testosterone naturally. Like most biological processes, testosterone follows the principles of cause and effect, meaning the best way to improve testosterone and sperm quality is by removing or limiting the factors that are causing it to be low in the first place. Now, these factors are covered in another video, so for now, here are the causal cliff notes. Now, I understand that's a long list, so I want to zoom in on the most important lifestyle factors. Cut the crap. Decrease or eliminate habits you know aren't good for you. Things like alcohol, tobacco, weed, processed foods, sugar, etc. And don't worry, you can always go back to these vices. But honestly, after working with a lot of men over the years and from personal experience, men feel a lot better after weaning off these substances and choose not to go back. Nutrition. This one is simple, but not always easy. Best diet is whole foods that are ideally organic. That said, I understand life can get messy, so grabbing a meal from a drive-thru or pre-made section at the grocery store, it just happens. And that's okay. The important thing here is not to get stressed out at attempting to find the best food for every meal. Just follow the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, it's whole food, while the other 20% is fair game. Number 3, weight. Carrying around excess weight is destructive for every system needed for life. It causes hormone imbalances, elevations in inflammation, erodes cardiovascular function, and skyrockets the odds of cancers, and a whole lot more. So instead of belaboring the point, let's move on. Number 4, movement. When it comes to overall health and testosterone, exercise is king. Now, it is true that most forms of movement will increase T, but if you're looking to maximize your results, consider these 5 movement practices ranked by their effectiveness for increasing T. Heavy compound resistance training is the undisputed king. High intensity interval training or sprinting. Hobby sports like basketball, soccer, and tennis. Bodyweight exercises. Last but not least is cardio. Number 5, recovery. Sleep, hydration, stress relief, and active recovery, such as massage or foam rolling, are crucial for optimal testosterone levels. Think of it this way. The 3 biggest recovery hormones we have, testosterone, growth hormone, and melatonin, all get produced during sleep. So when we interrupt this restorative process, the balance skews towards breakdown instead of repair. The results of which is less testosterone. All right. Now that we've covered the biggest levers that naturally improve T, let's look at the best clinically demonstrated supplements to maximize our efforts. Vitamin supplements. First up is vitamin D. It's been reported that around 40% of males in America are deficient in this sun-derived vitamin. So in reality, this collective deficiency is telling us that we need to get outside. That said, supplementation is a wise move just to make sure we have our levels topped off. Because this steroid hormone is important for bone health, immune function, metabolism, the cardiovascular system, and yes, testosterone. On the testosterone front, it turns out that vitamin C amplifies testosterone production in the testes. And as a side note, vitamin D is fat soluble, so we need to take it with fat to increase absorption. The optimal dose is 3,000 to 5,000 IUs daily. Moving on, vitamin Bs. These vitamins play an indirect role in testosterone production, primarily through metabolic support and hormone regulation. They help with DNA synthesis, our immune system, nerve health, and more. Regarding the dose, an ideal dose is usually covered in a good multivitamin. Supplements, minerals. There are 3 minerals that have been consistently shown to improve testosterone function: boron, zinc, and magnesium. Let's start with boron. Boron is a trace mineral that acts as a hormone modulator and amplifier. It has been shown to lower estradiol, decrease inflammation, and increase free testosterone by lowering sex hormone binding globulin. More specifically, a randomized clinical trial showed that 10 milligrams of boron a day for just 1 week increased free testosterone by 28%. So following the data, the ideal dose of boron is 10 mg a day. Zinc. Zinc is another trace mineral critical for over 300 enzymatic reactions in the body. It's needed for testosterone production, inhibits testosterone to estrogen conversion, and amplifies the effects of LH. Collective studies on zinc supplementation show a marginal 10% increase in total T and free T in men who aren't deficient, and a sizable increase in men who are borderline or deficient. The ideal dose is 20 to 30 mg daily. Last but certainly not least is magnesium. Similar to zinc, magnesium is an essential cofactor in over 300 enzymatic reactions in the body. It supports hormone production, reduces inflammation, lowers sex hormone binding globulin, amplifies LH signaling, and is vital for overall health. Several random clinical trials and meta-analyses show magnesium supplementation can increase total and free T by around 10 to 15% in healthy men, and way more in deficient men. The ideal dose is 200 to 400 mg of magnesium glycinate daily. The last supplemental category is plants. Plants that increase testosterone work differently than vitamins and minerals. They work by activating the body's stress response from exposure to plant defense chemicals. Yeah, it turns out that when we consume small amounts of these toxins, a concept called nutritional hormesis, the body improves its function by activating the stress response in order to overcome or at the very least endure the challenge. This biological principle demonstrates how small doses of stress improve function through adaptation. All right, nerdy facts aside, what plants improve T? Among all the plant supplements out there claiming to improve T, there are only 2 that have been consistently shown to improve T: Tongkat Ali and ashwagandha. Tongkat Ali. Tongkat Ali increases testosterone through its defense chemical, uricomone. This compound has been shown to decrease conversion of testosterone to estrogen, lower the stress hormone cortisol, and release bound testosterone, thereby increasing free T. Now, since uricomone is the primary agent for these effects, it's wise to look for Tongkat Ali supplements with around 1 to 2% uricomone to match the research studies. An average male can expect to see around a 20% increase in total T and 34% increase in free T with 300 to 600 mg of standardized Tongkat Ali in around 8 to 12 weeks. Plus, men with low T can expect greater results. Ashwagandha. Ashwagandha increases testosterone through its defense chemical, withanolide glycosides. Evidence consistently shows that ashwagandha reduces cortisol by about 15 to 30%, amplifies LH signaling, and protects the Leydig cells, which makes testosterone. And similar to Tongkat Ali, when looking for the best ashwagandha, it's crucial to know how much withanolide glycosides you're getting. For example, as of making this video, there are 3 standardized versions. KSM66, which has about 5% withanolide glycosides with a dose of 300 to 600 mg daily. Cinerol, which is 10%, lowers the dose by 125 to 250 mg daily. And the last one is Shodan, coming in with an astonishing 35% withanolide glycosides. And because this defense chemical is so high, the dose is small, 60 to 120 mg daily. If dosed within these ranges, one can expect a 20 to 30% increase in total T in about 8 weeks. Lastly, it's important to note that although every supplement mentioned has been repeatedly studied, there is a lot of variation in biology, meaning the percentage increase in T is based on averages. Alright, I know that was a lot of information, and I want to stress that there is no need to go on a supplement binge and order all of them, as several of these compounds are found in a good multivitamin. So to make things easier for you, here's a cheat sheet.